Greetings, humanity! Today is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. Let's grok the news. I'm Robert Gardner, using GROK, the most truthful AI in the world, every weekday to help me search out and to summarize the biggest headlines in the news today. You also get, of course, the benefit of this observer's opinions. We briefly review a roundup of the most critical reports in the world, but first, and mostly in this special report, another deep dive into today's top story, which remains the conflict in Iran. That's coming up right after this. M.S. Gardner, my wife, is author of last year's Moon Meridian Prize winner from April Gloaming Publishing, Wolf's Bane, a dark, serious, modern take on an old fairy tale. You've never heard Little Red Riding Hood told like this. It's a page-turning Southern Gothic story for adults that you can't put down. It might not put you down for a little while either. It's one of those stories. Wolf's Bane, available now at thecuriousauthor.com. All one word, thecuriousauthor.com. And now, let's grok the most important news in the world today, starting with our lead story, the dateline: Washington, Tehran, Jerusalem. The U.S.-Israel war against Iran has entered a critical and confusing phase, with President Donald Trump claiming progress toward peace talks, while Iranian officials officially insist there are no negotiations. And of course, fighting does continue on multiple fronts. Trump has repeatedly stated that Tehran wants a deal so badly, and that the U.S. sent Iran a detailed 15-point proposal to end the conflict. He described recent Iranian actions as a big present related to oil, suggesting de-escalation is underway. However, Iranian military spokesman dismissed the claim, saying the U.S. is negotiating with itself. Tehran maintains it has held no direct or indirect talks with Washington. Meanwhile, Iranian missiles have struck Israeli targets, including areas around Tel Aviv and other regions, triggering air raid silence from Jerusalem to the Upper Galilee. Reports indicate dozens injured, including children, from barrages, though Israeli defenses intercepted many projectiles. U.S. and Israeli forces have hit over 9,000 targets inside Iran since the war began, focusing on energy facilities and military sites. In a significant military move, the U.S. is preparing to deploy up to 3,000 troops from the elite 82nd Airborne Division to the Middle East to support operations in the Iran theater. Additional Marines are also being sent. A senior White House official described reports of Iranians wanting Vice President J.D. Vance to lead negotiations as a part of a foreign propaganda campaign. The conflict has caused major economic ripple effects. Oil prices initially fell on hopes of talks, but remain volatile due to disruptions in the Strait of Hormuz. The BlackRock CEO has warned that if oil hits $150 a barrel, a global recession could loom. Everyday life across Asia is being upended by the fuel crisis, with countries like India seeing panic buying at the pumps, and the Philippines declaring a national energy emergency. Southeast Asia faces power-saving measures reminiscent of the COVID era. Howard Dean warned that any major U.S. ground involvement in Iran could end the GOP's grip on power. Conservative voices at CPAC appeared divided over the war's objectives, with some GOP senators questioning clarity. Israeli officials remain skeptical of any deal, noting Iran's negotiating position may actually be stronger now. Hezbollah has reportedly sought creative ways to abduct IDF soldiers from Israel amid the chaos. Humanitarian concerns are growing, with reports of civilian impacts in Iran and worsening conditions for children in the region. A significant storm is also forecast to hit the Middle East, potentially complicating operations. The war, now in week 4, shows no clear end in sight, despite mixed signals on the diplomatic front. Both sides continue military actions, even as rhetoric about talks swirls. International reactions vary, with some allies expressing skepticism, others watching energy and security implications closely. This fluid situation combines battlefield developments, high-stakes diplomacy claims, and broad global economic fallout, all unfolding rapidly today. Now we grok the headlines from around the world. Dateline New York, New York. That deadly ground collision at LaGuardia Airport killed both pilots of an Air Canada flight after the plane struck a fire truck on the runway. The NTSB says the runway safety system did not alert, with the truck cleared just seconds before landing. Dozens were injured and operations were disrupted. Dateline Copenhagen. The Danish Prime Minister's left-wing bloc has won an early election but secured no majority in the party's weakest showing since 1903. The vote follows a political crisis over U.S. interest in acquiring Greenland. Coalition talks are now underway. Dateline New Mexico. A jury ordered Meta to pay $375 million after finding the company violated consumer protection laws by endangering children's mental health and misleading users on safety. The verdict highlights ongoing scrutiny of social media's impact on youth. Dateline Manila. The Philippines have declared a national emergency due to fuel supply disruptions linked to the Middle East conflict. President Marcos promised a flow of oil and urged measures to ease the crisis affecting the region. This observer does not recall that President Marcos has sent any help to ensure that flow of oil. Dateline Florida. A Democrat flipped a Florida state legislative seat that actually includes Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in a special election. Trump himself voted by mail in this contest, despite his past criticism of the practice. Well, he's always criticized a system that he never neglects to take advantage of. Dateline, well, this is a global Dateline. Epic Games. Believe it or not, this is big news, even though it starts with Epic Games. Well, that company has laid off more than 1,000 employees amid slowing engagement with the worldwide hit game Fortnite. The cuts come as the video game industry faces challenges with player retention and revenue. This observer is pretty sure that AI has something to do with this, as it does with so many layoffs in the tech sector. Dateline Kenya. Authorities discovered dozens of bodies, mostly infants, in a mass grave in the West African nation. Investigations are underway into the grim find as questions mount over the circumstances. Dateline Australia. Journalists at Australia's national public broadcaster went on strike for the first time in 20 years over pay disputes. The historic action has halted programming there and heightened labor tensions in the media. Given the sort of broadcasting that most public broadcasters do, this observer is sure that the Aussies aren't missing anything, really. Dateline USA. NASA rolled back its Artemis moon rocket to the launch pad for a possible April liftoff, and they've unveiled an ambitious $20 billion strategy for a permanent lunar base. The plans aim to push human exploration further than ever before. Another USA Dateline, a jury has ordered Bill Cosby to pay nearly $60 million to an ex-waitress after finding that he sexually assaulted her back in 1972. The civil verdict adds to the long legal aftermath for the once-beloved entertainer. Dateline Colombia. The death toll from a Colombian military plane crash rose to 69 as search and rescue operations concluded. The incident marks one of the country's deadliest aviation disasters in recent years. Dateline America. OpenAI ended its partnership with Disney and closed its Sora video-making app as it pivots toward business tools. The move signals a strategic shift for a leading AI company. Well, this observer has actually played with Sora and made some amusing videos. Well, it amused the observer anyway. Dateline Manila. Impeachment hearings against Vice President Sara Duterte began amid a heated political showdown in the Philippines. The proceedings could reshape the country's leadership dynamics. Dateline Pyongyang. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko made a rare visit to North Korea to deepen ties with Kim Jong-un. The meeting comes amid broader global geopolitical strains. This Dateline is around the world, but focuses on the USA as Epstein survivors shared harrowing accounts with the BBC, describing manipulation and fear, as the House Oversight Committee released deposition videos of key associates. The developments keep attention on the scandal, as this observer is sure they are meant to. Dateline the UK and Germany. Britain plans trials of social media bans and digital curfews for teenagers, while Germany faces outcry over deep-fake porn targeting an actress, prompting calls for stronger laws against AI-generated abuse. AI, one of the biggest stories in the world, a big story once again today. I thank you for listening. Please join me tomorrow to once again grok the news. I'm Robert Gardner. Godspeed and God bless.